Andy here, and today I wanted to talk about the best books that I've read so far in 2020. These are not books that came out in 2020. Actually, maybe one of them is, but they're just books that I read this year. I figure we're halfway through the year, so it seems appropriate. Let us begin. So one thing though, I did lose the list of the books that I read when I moved, so these are just the ones that I can remember. Let's begin. So this is the first one that I read this year. I've talked about this so many times. This is Who Goes There. This is a book by John Campbell, and this is the novella that the movie The Thing is based on. It's very, it's a very short little sci-fi horror novella. It's really fun. It's a lot of fun. I love this book so much, and I know I've talked about it a million times on here, so I won't say too much more about it, but if you haven't read this, highly recommend. This is always one of the best books that I read every year. I think I've read that every year for the past while. The next book though is The Exorcism of Annalise Michel, and this is by Felicitas D. Goodman. Wow, this book is messed up. Okay, so the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose is based on this book. This is a true story. It is heartbreaking, it is terrifying, it's a mixture of everything. The writer actually flew to where she and her family were from. She interviewed people, she got court documents, she talked to the priests involved. If you didn't know, the priest and her parents were actually charged with her, I don't think that they were charged with murder. I don't remember exactly. I have an entire 2 videos where I kind of broke this down and told you the whole story. I'll leave those linked down below. But honestly, even with those 2 videos, both being like 45 minutes, I still could not touch all of the information that's in here. I mean, there's just so much going on here. You get accounts from Annalise herself, from her journals, conversations that she had with people. It's such a wild book. I had nightmares for weeks after reading this. In fact, this book isn't even on my bookshelf. It's in my closet because I just wanted a little bit of distance from it. It really did freak me out. You guys know possession type stuff really does freak me out a lot. So reading this was quite terrifying. Highly recommend if you guys are interested in knowing her story. It is, again, very sad, and you don't really get as many answers as you would like. Like, you don't really know if it's a psychological issue, a physical issue, a issue with possession, religion. I don't know. It's a very interesting book though, and I highly recommend this. This was definitely one of my favorites that I read this year. Next up, oh, you know what? One book that I forgot because I can't find it on my bookshelves. I'm still missing books after the move, but it's Less Than Zero by Bret Easton Ellis. Man, that book is so good. It's about a group of young kids. They've all gone to college and come back together, and they're like partying and just hanging out, and it's such a nihilistic novel. It's so depressing. No one cares about these kids, not their parents, not their therapists, not their friends. Like, it's so sad. Hold on, let me grab my dog. It is just such a depressing, sad book, and some of the stuff that goes on in there, you're just like, God, I can't believe I'm reading this. I don't even know how to describe it. It's not like, so Bret Easton Ellis is the writer of American Psycho. It's not horror in that sense at all, but it is such a good book. And the way that I look at Less Than Zero is like, I read American Psycho and I'm like, who could grow up and be like that? And then I read Less Than Zero and I'm like, oh, these are the kids that grow up to be like that. There is also some sort of, I don't even want to say connection, but there is a character that is in American Psycho that is mentioned in the story, so it's a fun little, I don't know, universe that Bret Easton Ellis creates. He's a fantastic writer, and if you didn't know, his new novel will be out next January, and it's about a serial killer, and I cannot wait. I'm pretty sure American Psycho is the only horror book that he's written, and I think it's the first fiction book that he's written in like over a decade or something crazy like that. So I am so excited. He has just an outrageous amount of talent. So I'll leave the link down below if you guys want to pre-order the book. I don't know if I want to pre-order or just wait for it to come out. I am so excited for that. But yeah, that was one of the best books that I read. It made me feel a lot of things, mostly sadness and a lot of joy that I wasn't raised rich. I know that's not the case for all rich people, but like, man, what a miserable life those kids have. It's very sad. The next book is Summer of Night by Dan Simmons. I talked about this briefly. It's about a group of kids. They find something malicious is going on in their town that's trying to take over, and they are the ones that like fight against it. It's a really good book. It's so well written. It's quite large, so it is a lot of like character development. There's a lot of nostalgia regarding childhood, riding bikes and going swimming and going to the movies and things like that. But it's you know, also a really fun horror mystery sci-fi type of book. It's got a little bit of everything, I would say. I was just blown away by this book. The writing is fantastic. The character development is fantastic. The plot is so fun. I don't know, it's so descriptive. You feel like you're there with the kids, and the thing that's taking over is just so unique. I just don't feel like I've ever read a book like this before. Highly recommend. This was honestly one of my favorite books I think that I'm gonna read all year long. And last up, I want to talk about this guy. This is From Below by Darcy Coates. I've gotten a few of her books in the past. I've enjoyed all of them, but I loved this one. This was so fun. It's about a group of people. They're all different. A marine biologist, a camera guy, a person who does documentaries, a group of people that come together and they're trying to find the ship, the sunken ship called the Arcadia, and it hasn't been seen in like 90 years or something like that. And nobody knows what happened to it, no bodies washed up, nothing. It just vanished, gone. They think that they have located the ship. They are on a mission to scuba dive down to the bottom, like 300 feet below the surface or something. The way that she describes scuba diving, because I've seen tons of movies deep sea with scuba diving and like people in little tanks and stuff like that. Nothing has described it the way this book has. Like, it is so freaking well written. The way that she describes the claustrophobia, the panic, the anxiety, being that far down below in the ocean, just things that you just wouldn't even think about. It seriously gave me, this book gave me nightmares. It did. Quite a few nights I had some creepy nightmares from it. The cool thing about it is, so they're going down to the ship, but then you get chapters that are about the Arcadia before it sank. So you get to hear its distress calls, and you get to hear like what's going on little by little, and it's so creepy and so weird and so fun, and the whole book is just fantastic. I mean, I read this in a few days because I couldn't put it down. Like with the other Darcy Coates book that I read, something about this writer, I'm telling you, I'm a huge fan. But I loved this. The only thing I'll say is the ending, it wasn't what I expected, but that's not a bad thing. It's such a good book. I really loved every second of this. I loved finding out what was going on slowly with the ship. I loved the fear of the scuba divers being that far down below the surface, just in complete and utter blackness, and how it felt going into the ship. This book is so well written. I really highly recommend this. So this was the last book that I read that I really, really loved. And yeah, a mixture of kind of everything this time. A little bit of everything, I guess, mostly horror. Are you surprised though? Anyways, those are the best books that I have read so far this year. Please let me know what your favorite book that you have read this year is, because you guys always give me the best recommendations, and I will definitely do another one of these videos at the end of the year. Oh, and by the way, I think this is the one. Yeah, this is the one that came out this year. This is the last Darcy Coates book that you can pick up, and I highly recommend it. I think it's fantastic. All of these I think are great. So I'll definitely do another video at the end of the year with everything else that I've read from this point on. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with another horror video. Bye guys.